I just wanted to start off my video by saying I really liked the materials that were chosen for this week. I think that it brought up a lot of different subjects. There was a wide array of them. I did notice common themes, though, in what everyone in my pod kind of chose to write about and discuss, and I enjoyed reading all of their thoughts on the different topics and found myself agreeing with them a lot. There was a lot of talk of intersectionality in the readings and in the discussion posts. I saw Maddie focused on this a lot, and I really have to agree with this, and I think it needs to be reiterated and reiterated until people really stick with it. Because I think every movement should work on being as intersectional as possible, and there's always room for improvement. And by criticizing a movement for not being as intersectional isn't, discrediting it. It's just giving it advice and telling it that we need to keep progressing, such as, feminism today and the Women's March. Because if we're not being as intersectional as possible, there are just going to be huge groups of disenfranchised people that are essentially being ignored by groups that should be including them and giving them a seat at the table. And I definitely agree that the Women's March has had a problem with this, and because I think it's a really great thing and has a really great message, but I do think that there's always going to be room for improvement. And I definitely consider myself a feminist, but Maddie definitely has a good point about it catering to white cis women. And sometimes, as a white cis woman, it's easy to not think about the other people that should be included because you don't have to think about it on a daily basis. And it's always a good reminder just to make sure that everyone is feeling included and feeling welcome and thought about and fought for. And you can't just focus on the people that are the most like you, the most similar to you, because you're going to be part of the problem if you do that. So that was always a good reminder to get a different perspective. I also was reading Hannah's posts, and I related to her background a lot, kind of growing up in a middle class neighborhood as a white cis female, and I've never really faced that much oppression, I wouldn't say. And I think it's important to use this to help other people that possibly would have faced more oppression than you had to deal with in your life. And I definitely want to make sure people feel comfortable and welcome, and it's always a good reminder to make sure you're doing that. So I thought the video on vocabulary was a really good watch, and I saw a lot of people made comments about that as well. Because reminders are always welcome, and especially I thought it's important to make sure you're asking people for your pronouns, because it's something so easy to forget. If it may seem obvious to you, it's not always what you may think it is. I saw Amber touched up on that as well, and I just think, especially, being on a college campus, you're always interacting and meeting new people, whether that be in classes or, just anywhere on campus or off campus. And it's just such an easy thing to do is just ask someone for their pronouns, which I admit I tend to forget. So it's good kind of to get a reminder and a refresher, and definitely to keep doing that. And then I also felt the good reminder when I was watching the cultural appropriation videos, and definitely the one that is like, my culture is not your costume, because all of these I've pretty much seen before, and I know that's not okay to do, and it's offensive, and it seems obvious to me. But then the Hawaiian one came up, and I didn't even ever think about this, and I never really knew the history of it, and it was just a reminder that I need to make sure that I'm checking my privilege and keeping up with research. And just because I think, obviously you shouldn't wear like a Native American headdress, that doesn't mean it ends there. But switching over to a new subject, the 13th I saw was talked about a lot, and I've seen this 3 times, and it's been just as powerful every time I've seen it. And it's something that's really stayed with me because not only of the content, but just how well it was done. And the most haunting part to me was always been where there are the videos from, current day rallies, and then right by the videos of the civil rights movement, and with the Trump voiceover saying very hateful things. And every single time it just gives me chills. And I saw Maddie said the same thing. And I just think when watching that, like, it's just crazy because we like to think that a lot has changed, but I don't think we've progressed as much as we like to say. these things are still happening all the time, even though people like to act like racism doesn't exist anymore. It still does, and I think within the last couple of years it's been kind of brought out front again, which I think needs to happen. But I just thought it was very powerful to see that, because really things are still very similar. We have improved, but there's still so much room to grow, and I think people like to forget that. So that's basically all I have, but I really enjoyed reading everyone's responses, and I couldn't get to everything. But yeah, that's all.